Hey makers, Christine here. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Modern Maker Studio. Like I said, I'm Christine, and this is where I make things. I thought that there's no better way to launch a new channel than to share a little bit of where I make and what I'm making. Now, like I said, or like the name might imply, I'm a modern maker, and I like to make things mostly in the fiber arts, such as knitting and quilting, but I've never ever met a craft I haven't wanted to try, and that will be evident in a little bit. Also, I really want to explore general creativity here. So, not limiting myself to fiber art making, just making in general at the Modern Maker Studio. For those of you who don't already follow me, I'm also over on Instagram as Modern Little Me, and I have a account over there, modern.maker.studio. Okay, so you want to see where I am? Let's go. Okay, friends, this is how I normally enter and exit my studio. I am in the garage because right behind me is the entrance to the mudroom. And more often than not, I'm coming in from dropping somebody off somewhere and trying to squeeze in some time. So, to give you the true feel, we're walking in as I walk in. When I walk in, I usually have two people, well, 3 people waiting for me. You can see that I have installed a little divider here so that you don't immediately walk into the mess that is my studio. Okay, say hi. Good girl. Okay. And here you have it. This is where I make. Okay, full disclosure. One of the reasons it took me so long to do a studio tour was because I fell into the trap of perfection and was always waiting to do one more thing to make it perfect. The perfection trap is real, I'm telling you, but I finally decided that my studio is never going to be perfect. I am messy when I make things, I am sloppy when I'm in the middle of a project, and I live with piles all around me. So what you're about to see is about as clean as it's ever going to be, and also not normal. So you'll see the true studio over the next few episodes where I'm actually working on things in here. The other thing is, I want my studio to reflect my creative journey, and my creative journey is not a straight line. It's got loops, it's got zigzags. Sometimes I dabble in this, sometimes I dabble in that. Sometimes I'm really into this color, other times I'm into that color. So I want it to be more of a living, breathing dog entity, kind of like my creativity is. So I'm going to give you a little tour. We're going to resume the tour back over there. I'm going to show you what I've got going on here because I love to see how other people set up their studios. And then I'll show you some stuff we're working on. Okay. Back to where we left off. So this is where we are when we come in. This is my current setup to allow the most, I don't know, functional space. I don't know if that's actually the word. Over here you'll see my sewing machine. I do sew at an island because I cannot sew at a desk. So I am raised up and I use a adjustable wobble stool for balance and just to keep my body moving. It's good when you're sewing for long periods of time. You will see that I have spread wheeled carts stacked with fat quarters and half-yard cuts throughout my office. When I'm not sewing, I move out the stool and tuck them under here for organization, I guess. I don't know. I'm not organized. I'm going to try not to trip over the dog as I back up. Here you will see a simple Target shelf off to the side with my works in progress, hopefully tucked away nicely. My one mini quilt on the wall, which is only there because I can't reach the push pin. More on that to come in a future episode. I have 3 of these Malm, I believe they're Malm from IKEA, carts, And here's the secret to what I did with these. First of all, I use this as my cutting table because it's a little higher. You can see that it's just tucked away. But I bought these wheels. Can you see them? No, you cannot. I purchased these wheels on Amazon, and not only are they a fun bright color, but they raise it up a little more and they just slide so much smoother on the carpet. So each one of the cabinets has that as well. And here is my baby, my long arm machine. It is a sit-down long arm. One day I hope to upgrade this, but for now I am renting a long arm at a local quilt shop so that I do smaller quilts on this and larger quilts over there. So it does kind of work. Right now you can see I'm using the table as a resting area for projects in progress. This is a new addition to the studio and not really finalized. This whole area is not finalized. New chair, and here you can see my makes are not always of the quilt variety. Hi, Cecilia. That is the sound of a hedgehog who isn't necessarily happy to wake up, but she is a fun studio mate. We'll see if she pops up. I think she might. Hi, baby. Tomorrow will be cage cleaning day. And it is time for that. Time for a tubby and time for her nails to be trimmed. Everything is always going to be a work in progress, friends. And here is my current yardage fabric stash. Ooh, backlight, killing me. Again, just another simple Target shelf. The fabric lined up in color order. Now lastly, we have this wall. For those of you who watched Quilting on Caffeine, you might recognize that this was where I hung a quilt wall from. These little eye hooks in the ceiling. Eye hooks? No, cup hooks in the ceiling. I'm currently working on repainting that. We just busted out a cabinet that used to live over here. You can see the raw wood in the background, as well as some pipes that need to be covered up. And like I said, I was getting caught in the perfection trap and decided not to let it get me down. When I'm not working on a project, you can see I use my ironing board for storage. I've got 2 quilts that I just quilted here, another one that's going with me next week to be quilted, and the golden hour pattern that is a work in progress. Like I said, I live in piles, so there's always things on my floor, including tote for a new quilt along I'm working on. Got some books to be read over here. This is the one card that never gets tucked away. It kind of travels with me as like an extra end table. But there you have it. The studio. Full disclosure, you can, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, see my studio from the rest of the house. Now, that was totally a selling point when we bought this place because I could keep an eye on the kids while working in there. Little did I know that 6 months after we bought this place, we were all going to be here all day, every day. And then my studio became a homeschool room. And that was not so much fun. But it is back to being a studio now. And I'm going to walk you over. Okay, I'm currently standing in the living room and trying to slowly and stably walk into my studio from the other direction. So as you can see, it's not always the nicest thing to walk into, or let me rephrase, it's not the cleanest thing to walk into, but you can get to it this way. I just like to pretend that you can't. And there you have it. That's where I make things. Now, I haven't been doing a lot of making in recent weeks, and I'm not really sure why. First of all, I never make something consecutively from point A to point B. If you know me, that should not surprise you. But I've been bopping around on projects a lot more than normal. So that's a little bit of a surprise. Because I didn't think I could bop around any more than I already do, but I guess I am. What I'm going to show you now is what I'm working on. And we'll start with the fiber arts and then we'll move off of the fiber arts. Just another peek at the golden hour quilts. I'm determined to finish this top. It is a big one because I'm doing an oversized throw. Very modern, very graphic, using a bunch of Ruby Star prints and some solids, and then of course lingerie, linen, Essex linen and lingerie, which is my favorite. Well, when it's not pickle. So got that. I will also share when I finish them these, oops, this is a very off the cuff blog, but that's how I'm going to roll on this. I quilted this a couple weeks ago, right before break. This one I did at the long arm, so up in the shop. So I will look forward to trimming that up, binding it, and sharing that, as well as this one. 2 charity donations right there. And then we'll walk over here. You can see this is my golden hour pieces that I still need to use. This is another quilt I'm working on using a charm pack, some yardage, and kitchen table quilt pattern, which I've completely forgotten the name of. But this will be a much more subdued quilt than I normally make in terms of palette and just even in pattern. And then off to the side you can sneak a peek at what's going to happen to this wall back here, I think. But no, stay tuned. You'll learn very quickly, I like to stash things in bags. So this is a bag full of yarn for various projects. Kind of obsessed with this yarn right here. I feel like that will be a fun palette for the spring. Okay. Before we go into non-fiber, I am also knitting the half and half triangle shawl by Pearl Soho, the striped version. I can't remember. It's just a lot of knitting rows back to back with an end row. But that has been very meditative and nice for winding down in the evenings. And I think that's the only thing I'm knitting right now. What I've spent most of my time doing. Okay, so paint by numbers are like a thing right now. They're having a moment. I'm here for it. I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. It was actually my best friend who said, maybe you should try a paint by number kit. I am here for it. So this one is from Michaels. It's got some of my favorite colors in it. And while I am enjoying it, holy cow, it's taking a lot longer than I thought it would. Mostly because look at those teeny tiny spots. Crazy. So I've been finding this super addictive, but not overwhelming because you're literally just filling in numbers. I have not gone, just like I bop around in crafts, I have not gone in order on my numbers either, which is driving some people crazy. But it's coming along. So I think I have another week or so there. You can see all my little paints here. The other thing I've been working on, I fell down a seed rabbit hole. Holy cow. So in the vein of making, that's not fiber arts, I want to do a cutting garden this year. We have a big garden bed out front that just had dead shrubs in it when we moved in. I think we're finally to the point where we're gonna move them all out. Almost dropped the camera. And I'm gonna plant a cutting garden. Well, and beets apparently. I don't even know what happens sometimes in the store. It's like a fabric store. It's like going into the fabric store and buying that little charm pack. That's like seeds for me. So, we'll see how this goes. I am not a green thumb, but I think I can make it happen. And there you have it. A little bit of the studio, a little bit of hedgehog, a little bit of dogs, a little bit of me and what I'm working on. Kind of a smorgasbord, which is kind of what I want this whole thing to be, is creativity in general. I have a lot of thoughts on making that I will share next time, so I don't scare you all off on the first episode. But I'm going to leave you with the fact that I'm clearly feeling the color coral these days. From my shoes to my knits to my paints. And I think I'm just going to try moving forward every day, making something, leaving something better off than when I found it. Okay, I think that's enough for now. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye.